All right. Woo! So let's take a deep and slow breath together. 1, 2, 3, in through your nose. All right. So this message is going to be about how much you are worthy and how much you are good enough. The things in the outside world and the external world, things that you might really want or that you might be attached to, attachments, expectations, success, could be a particular person, could be relationships, could be a car, anything that you really want. When you go about attaining that external thing, once you do that and you have an opportunity to attain that, let's say you go on a date and you have an opportunity to be in a new romantic relationship. And let's say that you get ghosted. They never call you back again. And you go back and you look at your actions and you perhaps you start just kind of looking at what you could have done differently, thinking that maybe you did something wrong. And perhaps you're even somebody who goes a step further and just starts getting really hard on themselves and thinking that there's different things wrong with you, or maybe you're too shy, or maybe you're too aggressive, or whatever it is that you start looking at yourself, for example. Because not everybody does that, right? Not everybody gets hard on themselves if something doesn't work out the way that they want. We all have different patterns. Maybe they do something different, right? There's different coping mechanisms, right? That we deal with failure or deal with anything in life. But in this particular instance, if let's say you got ghosted on a relationship and you somehow feel like you did something wrong, or you failed, or you didn't show up a certain way, whether you didn't say something or you should have said something, whatever it is, it just wasn't good enough because you clearly don't have this external result, right? There's a couple things with that statement. First off is that, number one, you're not in control of anything outside of you. What does that mean? Well, for starters, we're all at free will. So I have the free will to choose whether or not I want to step into something that I'm being called to step into. Maybe there's something that I'm being inspired to step into that I really ought to be stepping into and embracing, but I have this fear or this judgment on whether or not I should actually do that. And so then it becomes this confusing thing, right? So there is such thing as being inspired or having the right action, the action that we are really being called to embrace, the change we're being called to make, the action we're being called to step into. So there's that, right? But I'm at free will. So if I let my fears get to me, I can choose not to do that thing that I'm being inspired to do or being called to do. So that's that free choice. That's one person. Second is that you have the other person or the other thing that you're in relationship with, right? And that person also has free will. So whether it's a job, maybe the car example doesn't work, but maybe it's the job, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, someone else, and they're also at free will. So let's say you go on this date with that person and you guys, maybe you are a great match and the date goes great. And then you get ghosted, right? And you start thinking to yourself, like, what happened? And then, this particular person may start to think that there's something wrong with them. Meanwhile, it has nothing to do with that person at all. Meanwhile, the other person is the one with, let's say, a commitment issue or a rejection issue, doesn't want to be rejected, or is just afraid to jump into or get into a relationship. And so they let their fear keep them from stepping into the relationship. Right? So, and that you have no control over. Maybe it's the right thing to be doing, is for them two to be coming together. But because of that person's fear, keeps them from entering into the relationship. And then this person has the opportunity to feed into their fear and think they did something wrong, if that's that fear pattern that's playing out, that particular pattern. So, coming from the person who's making themselves wrong, looking at, number one, I'm at free will to be in this relationship. You're at free will whether or not you want to be into your relationship. And then the person that we want to be in a relationship with, that person has their own free will. All right? So you have no control over what it is they choose to do. Now here's the kicker. Beyond all this is a higher power, is the universe, is God, is spirit. And spirit, we'll just call it that for now, is consistently and constantly organizing different rendezvous and different meetings where, you just meet the right person to get that new job, or you just happen to run into such and such person who ends up being your next best friend, or you happen to, et cetera, right? Where you're just in the right place at the right time because you're following your guidance. You are on the path of what feels resonant to you. You're not in fear. You're on your path. And at one point or another, as you're following your intuition and you're following your own internal guidance, and you're not in fear, you are naturally in the flow of life. And what will happen is you will meet others that are in their natural flow of life. So within, so without. So you have this natural flow, or this spirit that's also guiding things, right? And so if you really look at that, and you have control over what it is that you choose to do, your own free will, but once you choose to let go and surrender your will to a higher power, now you can actually allow yourself to flow with the natural flow of life. So the point of this, because we're going to come back around to feeling good enough, right? So the point of this is, number one, you're not in control. You cannot control their free will. They are a complete choice on what it is they want to do. And that goes for anybody in the external world. You have no control over that. Secondly, you certainly have no control over the larger picture of things. The only thing you have control over is your own response, is your own heart, is your own mind, is your body. Well, even sometimes that can be debatable, but the point is that the only thing you have control over is you, your emotional state, right? Things that are within your sphere, your power, your field. So, going back to the person who's going to make themselves wrong, or who doesn't feel good enough when a certain expectation or outcome is less than expected or less than desired, when we're really looking at that, we're not in control. Like, there's no way. It's just unnecessary to blame ourselves at that point, because there are so many other multitudes and facets of things that are happening. And even though, let's say, spirit guides us and brings us to this person and we know things are right, we cannot help but what another person does. We can influence it, but we ultimately cannot make that choice. And so to take on that weight and say that you did something wrong and make yourself wrong and blame yourself is taking on that responsibility, taking on the responsibility of you creating, this rendezvous and stuff like that. It's just not the case. It's just not the case. So, hopefully for someone that we're speaking of, who doesn't feel good enough, or who thinks that what they're doing is just never enough because the results aren't showing, I would encourage you to open yourselves up. Open yourselves up to the idea that you're not in control. Open yourself up to the idea, at the large scheme of things, open yourself up to the idea that someone or something higher has got your back, is out for your highest and best interests. And that for some reason, whatever it is that you're experiencing right now, and that's feeling of not feeling good enough or not feeling worthy, there's a lesson in that for you. And perhaps that's why you were brought together in the first place with this particular experience. But just know this. You are worthy of God's love. You are worthy of being here and existing. You are worthy of existence. You are existence. But you are worthy of God's love. And what does that mean? That means that whatever spirit or God or your higher self is guiding you through right now, whatever it is that you truly want and truly desire, you are worthy of that. And you will attain that should you choose to remember that the only thing you have control over is your own energies. You have no idea what the day is going to be in store, what the day has in store for you, the rest of your day today. You might have your intentions, but you have no idea what surprises await you, how your day might unfold for real, and that you have no control over. But you have two options now. You can choose to scramble and hurry and really work really hard and get minimal results. Or you can choose to simply show up and allow the universe to meet you halfway. Take some of that weight off your shoulders and allow life to be a little bit more graceful, a little bit more effortless. Now, and I get it. It isn't as simple as making that choice, because there's a process to getting to that place. And it does take time. At least for most people. True real transformation is a progress. It's not a overnight happening. Sure, you can get inklings of your true soul self and being embodied and being very authentic. And you can get inklings of you being the real you. But we normally don't learn all of our lessons in a single moment. So as you're learning to, if you want help in that process of becoming more graceful and allowing more to enter into your life, allowing yourself to receive the abundance that you so rightly deserve, that you're so worthy of. If you'd like some assistance in that, then schedule a free consultation with me. Go on my website and schedule a free consultation. Because to learn this stuff on your own is just, it's really challenging. Even if you have the right teachings, but you don't have the personal support of a coach or someone who's there with you in your personal situation and not is at the same level as you, but someone who's gone a little bit further and who hopefully has a really high mentor as well. You know, but it's really important to have someone who's who's just a little further along than you in their experience and who knows your personal situation and can dial in and lift and help lift you up. Ultimately, you got to do the work. You got to lift yourself up. But just know that that you're not alone. And if you do want help, ask for it. Take some of the weight off your shoulders. And you will be so surprised at how quickly that support shows up for you when you ask for it and it's truly right for you to do so. It'll be there for you every time. So with that being said, you are so worthy of God's love. You are so worthy of the abundance that this world and this dimension has to offer you. And heaven on earth, that state of being is available. It's available. With that being said, I wish you well, and we'll talk soon.